Welcome to another episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We're back for our Week 12 preview show. And this week we're starting off with our special guest picker segment. And we've got a returning guest and friend of the show, Andy Davies, joining us. Andy, welcome back to Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. It's always a pleasure to have you on. A busy man as always. How are you doing?
Thank you very much for having me on. Enjoyed my previous appearances on the show. And yeah, all is good. Can't really complain. We were saying before the recording started, can't believe it's week 12 already. Fresh off. I say fresh. It's been a month since the London games. Done a few other things recently, football-wise, and yeah, just enjoying life. Best time of the year for me personally when it gets to Christmas. I love the Christmas week in the NFL, so you got all that to look forward to. Starting to get Christmas music playing in sort of shops and in work and all of that. So yeah, looking forward to what is probably the best month of the year for sport.
Excellent. Shout out, Andy. You're the first person to mention Christmas on our show so far this season. So shout out. We're going to talk all things Dolphins with Andy. He's a big Miami Dolphins fan. We'll talk about his recent trip to Miami as well. He had the pleasure of heading out and watching the Dolphins live. We're going to preview Dolphins, Patriots, and also Andy's going to take on, and we're still searching for our first guest to successfully complete the fourfold challenge. So Andy's going to give that a go this week. But you're a busy man, as you mentioned, Andy. What have you got coming up? So you've been working on loads. I know you were down in London for the international games you mentioned. I know you were out in Dublin for the college football game. You've been to Miami. What's been your highlight of the season so far? Because you're just doing so much.
This is going to sound mental because my main work involves on NFL, but my first love has always been football, and I got the experience to go to the Bernabeu recently, not for work, just for being as a fan. I did do some vlogging. That vlog is out, I believe, tonight, if not tomorrow. Ryan's sorting out that. That was an amazing experience. Went there just for the day, literally flew about 7 a.m. in the morning, and then we flew back about 5 a.m. the next morning. So all done within 24 hours. That was really cool. That was a really cool experience. I mean, I've never been for a Champions League game, never been for a game at the Bernabeu. Always wanted to do both, and get to do them both in the same day, in the same game, was just an incredible experience. Hearing that Champions League music going off, in such an iconic stage and such an iconic team like Real Madrid, and even AC Milan, a team they were playing, the two most successful teams in that tournament's history, and saw them lose as well, which is a rare sight in the Bernabeu. But I think the highlight for me has to be probably the London games. I mean, Miami was great, don't get me wrong, but I think the chance to get press work once again for second year running now was just an amazing experience once again. I mean, I know certain people, not going to name names, that I do feel are taking it for granted having these press creds, but I think I'm never going to ever, for me, to do that. I'm always grateful for the opportunity, and that's probably been a highlight. But it's all been a highlight, going to Miami, going to Madrid, Dublin in August. It's just been a great, few months really, and I'm going Goodison Park in a few weeks for the Merseyside derby. That would be my first time doing that. Otherwise, just been enjoying the sport. Moved to Cardiff now, so moved away from the parents for the final time. Been in and out the last 6 years or so, but yeah, it's all been happening. But it's been it's been great.
Good stuff. Yeah, busy man, the hardest working man for sure. I think hardest working person in the game, and hopefully, who knows, Andy? Maybe you'll be able to revisit the Bernabeu next year as that's hosting an NFL game in 2025. So you might be able to revisit back in the press box there, and hopefully, we'll be joining you. Who knows?
It needs to happen because you guys work so hard in your podcast. So it'd be great to see you, in Dublin or in London or Madrid or anywhere like that. Yeah, it'd be great to see you guys do well. I'm hoping. I mean, we are guaranteed as a Dolphins fan, we are guaranteed a game internationally anyway.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for flight reasons it's not Mexico City. I'm hoping it is London, Dublin, or Madrid. And I think it's going to be Madrid. And I've seen a lot of work with Dolphins in Spain. Like I think Fernando Torres announced the Dolphins draft pick either this year or last year. Bellingham and Vinicius Jr. went to the Dolphins practice facility. There's a lot of work going on with the Dolphins in Madrid. So I think it's definitely us or the Bears. And I think, or we could be playing the Steelers away from home. But I think we are hosting the international game. So that's probably not going to be Dublin. I think, I remember myself looking at when I was at the Bernabeu, I was trying my hardest looking at where the press box was, and I found it. And I'm thinking, oh, hopefully this time next year it will be me, doing this, because that would be an amazing experience. Because I've done these London games the last couple of years. I've done Jets, Patriots, Vikings, Titans, but not yet done the Dolphins, which is my own team. I've seen people I've got to know through the media, particularly the franchise tag boys, or Shane from the Irish NFL show, Patriots fans like him and Sky, for example. Alex Evans, franchise tags, one of the writers. His Bears team, seeing their sort of how their reactions and their faces when they get to see their own team, get to interview their own players of their team, has been great to see. So I'm looking forward to hopefully that day coming next year internationally for Dolphins. And the chance to be able to ask questions to the likes of Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, if he's still playing, that is, to and all these people that play for the team. So for me, it's I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the Bernabeu experience, and hopefully it's the Dolphins playing there.
Well, fingers crossed it is. That'd be pretty cool for you. And like I say, it's a fantastic place. I remember last time I went to the Bernabeu, Danny Welbeck scored. Something like that. I went to watch Manchester United.
I remember that game.
Danny Welbeck scored at the Bernabeu. It was a very surreal experience, but yeah. You mentioned again, we just talked about you're a huge Miami Dolphins fan. You went out recently. It was the Cardinals game. Was it the Cardinals game? Yeah. The Cardinals game. Then that was Tua's first game back after his injury, or after his concussion injury. Yeah. How was the experience in Miami? And they lost a close game, really, didn't they, against the Cardinals a few weeks ago?
Yeah, amazing experience. I was going through a little bit of an existential crisis about a year ago, where I was thinking, because I went there 2022 and spend more time. I went to there for the whole week, ended up through friends of the fan club spontaneously going to Florida Keys for the week. So I only really spent, I think, a day or two in Miami in total. And you spend one day in the fan club event, you spend one day in the stadium, and I had a little bit of time on one of the beaches. And I didn't really like the beach too much. And I was thinking about a year ago, why the hell am I supporting a team where I don't really like the place they play in? So, for a while I was thinking, what's going on here? And then, went there with my girlfriend, our first trip abroad together, our first holiday, and I got to see actual Miami. I got to see, the planetarium, the zoo, the Everglades, go on some beaches, and obviously the game itself, and I absolutely just loved it. And I realised this is exactly why I support the team. It was based on a family holiday years ago in Orlando. This is why I support the Dolphins. I love this place. So for me, that was good. That was a good part of it, just to sort of end any of that crisis I was having in my head about being a Dolphins fan. But yeah, amazing experience. Got to do the tailgate before the game. Did a fan event the day before that, and I won a signed Tua jersey, Alabama jersey, which was insane, because I'm not Tua's biggest fan. I've always been a bit of a critic of him, and I was saying to my friends I was with from the fan club, just watch the one I'm going to win is going to be a Tua jersey, and it was. But that was really cool. Having to go up in front of everyone, pick up the prize, that was really fun. And the fan event they do every year, once a year, where you've got fans from all over the world. So you've got fans from Germany, Mexico, France, obviously the UK, and then obviously America and Canada as well. So that was always really fun. Shout out to Bo Campers Sports Bar and Grill, amazing sports bar. They had college games on, they had Fulham against Everton, they had multiple sports on, and the same thing a couple of years ago as well. And then the game itself, it was sadly my sixth time going to see Dolphins play, my sixth time seeing them lose. But I didn't care. I got myself a new jersey, paid over the odds, like any sort of pro shop, and got the Jalen Waddle jersey. And just overall really cool, taking Jess to a first ever NFL game in person. Just the overall day was just fantastic. And even though we lost, it was just all round an amazing experience. Weather was good as well. You don't always get that in the UK for London games, but amazing experience. And I already can't wait to go back.
Excellent, good stuff. And that was with the week 8 game. Things have changed a little bit over the last few weeks. Couple of big wins, in the space of a week. Last week, beating the Rams, beating the Raiders, and all of a sudden, kind of that early season, the misery of the early season after Tua went down, kind of getting through Tyler Huntley and Skylar Thompson and all of that. But the Dolphins are 4-6, not out of the hunt for a wild card spot in the playoffs. I think it's safe to say the division's gone with the Bills 5 games clear and flying. what are the chances here? Can the Dolphins kind of put a late run together here, the last third of the season, and find themselves in the postseason?
It's a big if, and we have to sort of look around our shoulders because you got the Colts, the Broncos, probably not Chargers. Probably are too far ahead, but I think it's the Colts and the Broncos and us, and probably the Bengals fighting out for that seventh seed. And we're 1 game behind, 2 games behind the Broncos. We're 1 game behind the Colts, but it's really 2 games because of the tiebreaker when they beat us in week 7. So it's going to be a tough ask. And I think, we've got the Jets twice, we've got the Browns, we've got the Patriots this weekend, and that's very, very favourable fixtures. But the 3 I'm looking at, particularly the other ones, Niners, Packers on Thanksgiving next week, as well as the Texans. And I think that if we're going to have to make the playoffs, we're going to have to beat one of these teams. I think the Niners have been a bit inconsistent. They got McCaffrey back, but they still lost with him. So, the Texans haven't been great either. They've been a bit up and down. The offensive line has been terrible. And then I think the Packers game is a loss. But I think, particularly the Niners and Texans game, if we can win 1 or 2 of those games, I think it's a good chance. I think the Colts schedule is very favourable. They got like the Jags and the Giants, and I think maybe the Raiders as well. But it's going to be a tough ask, and it's sort of might be a little bit too late. But I think what I've seen gives me hope for next season. Just how much better it's been with Tua. I mean, I said before, I'm not his biggest fan, but when you see what it's like with Skylar Thompson against the Seattle Seahawks, or what it was like, against the Titans and all the teams we played in that 5-game spot, the Colts game as well, definitely would have won that game if Tua was playing. It just shows that how important backups are, because you see, like the Steelers made the playoffs with Mason Rudolph as their backup, and other teams have done the same thing. But our backups have been terrible, and it is down to coaching as well. I think that Rudolph probably would have struggled in this team as well, especially with the O-line. But I think it's not over, and I think we have to sort of. It's nice that we had the last 2 seasons, great starts, poorly ending poorly, and I think it'd be nice if we could end the season well, because it may be enough to get in. I think we have to rely on these teams losing around us, but I think where we played the last 2 weeks, particularly on offense, it looked a whole lot better. And I think if we can go to Lambeau Field, it's a big if, because it's a hard place to go, especially this time of year. To go to Lambeau Field on a Thursday night in front of the whole nation, prime time on Thanksgiving, if we can get a win there, I think that will open up a lot of doors. And for me, that'll be a big statement to the league. But I've just got this feeling we're going to go 9-8, probably lose 2 of those 3 games I mentioned, and I think we'll be 11 on wins with the Colts, and that game will come back to bite us in week 7. But I still think it's the Broncos who make it more than the Colts and the Dolphins. I do think it'll be, Steelers or Ravens as the 5th seed, Chargers 6th seed, and I think it will be probably the Broncos 7th seed, because they look really good. Bo Nix looking like probably the 2nd best rookie quarterback this season. So yeah, tough ask, but you never know. I've seen the Broncos and Colts lose a lot of games in my life, so you never know. We have a chance. If we can win all our games, we probably get in. So yeah, it's got to keep the faith. But it's definitely a thin wire, thin rope we're walking on at the moment.
Margin for error is gone, I think. Yeah, there's not a lot of that. And just a quick one, I just want to get your thoughts on the coach, in particular, on Mike McDaniel around. We've seen some other coaches navigate these periods where they're without their starting quarterback a bit more successfully. Now, in the vast majority of cases, it's a disaster, of course. It is. You lose your starting quarterback, it's a struggle. You mentioned a couple there. We've seen the Packers and Matt LaFleur managed to guide Malik Willis to wins when we all thought he was completely useless from his time at the Titans. You mentioned the Steelers have done it in the past as well. I was pretty critical of Mike McDaniel earlier on in the season, thinking with the talent they've got, they should still be able to find ways to get those key players the ball and make a difference and win 1 or 2 more of those games to put themselves in a better position. Where are you standing? Because I kind of think that run's put him under a lot of pressure. Is that right to say, or how do you think kind of safe Mike McDaniel is?
I would have had a lot of different opinions about a fortnight ago, or even before the Rams game, because what I've seen, for his whole time really until recently, has been he had success in the run game and then starts to neglect it. But I've seen in the last couple of weeks, or even the Bills game, where we almost won 3 weeks ago, he's starting to run the ball a lot more, and he's not quite, sometimes been guilty of almost using Tua too much and trying to constantly go for the Madden sort of plays. But I think what we've seen recently is, whether it's through A-Chain, Mostert, or Jalen Wright, is him using a lot more of the run game. And I think we've become a little bit recently a bit more of a run-first offense, which sounds crazy with, you've got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on your team. But I think we've seen, against the Bills, we had a lot of success in the run game, and I think we showed a lot of the weaknesses in the Bills' run defense. And then you fast forward to the Rams game and the Raiders game. I think we saw a lot of success in the games. I think McDaniel's finally realised that we need to run the ball a lot more, have more balanced offense. So I think I've been pleased with how it's been the last couple of weeks, but I've not been impressed really most of the year. I think most of the year has been pretty shoddy. But again, it's gets down to what you were saying. On the one hand, you do lose your starting quarterback. You're probably on your third choice quarterback, really. But at the same time, other coaches get it done. Sam Darnold, he's had good coaching. He's turned to a good quarterback. Malik Willis has done great as a backup in place of Jordan Love. So, yeah, I think McDaniel definitely has a lot of to blame, because I do feel sometimes he has been guilty of that, of relying too much on Hill and Waddle. But I think now we're seeing Odell Beckham getting involved, Washington getting involved as well. So I think he's learning. I don't think he's on a hot seat. I think next year, if it goes wrong again next year, I think then you look at it. But I think have 2 playoff appearances in 2 years, you can't really argue with that, considering how bad it's been before that. I've only seen this in the playoffs 3 years in my time, 14 years being a fan. So for me, it's been the best period in my time being a fan. And I think if he can turn it around, especially, and make the playoffs this year, I think that would easily save his job. But I don't think it's any other danger this year, especially with the 3-year contract he signed this offseason. But I think next year will be when we'll start asking questions. I think if we start the season like we have this year, 1-6, or 3-4, or something like that, I think then you ask questions. But I think for now, he's definitely learning. He's not been perfect, but I think, maybe he's finally, the light bulb finally gone off in his head that, run the damn ball.
Yeah, and as I said, they've built that running game so well in Miami as well. So he just feels a shame sometimes, just disappears from it. Hopefully get some people back as well down the stretch as well, so if we can keep it close and keep within a chance. I know potentially Bradley Chubb will be back next week, maybe. We'll see, and that'll be a big difference for that defensive line as well. So yeah, some hope still for the Dolphins season. They take on the Patriots, as we kind of mentioned, alluded to already. This week, Dolphins are big favourites in this one, 7-point favourites. Dolphins kind of just got by the Patriots back in week 5. I think that was one of the Tyler Huntley games. They won 15-10. How are you kind of feeling it'll go against the Patriots in Miami this week?
Yeah, that Patriots game was rough. It was
terrible, yeah.
I remember being in the press area in Tottenham, I can't think what team it was, just been to that press conference. I then go, it might be the Jets, but I remember walking out. We walk into the cafeteria, you get your little packed lunch at the end, and I remember they had Red Zone on, and the first thing I see literally is the botched extra point or field goal from Jason Sanders, and I just thought that was the game done, the season done, and then obviously turned it around. And I want to shout out again the franchise tag boys, because that was one of the things I found amazing, with that getting to know these boys off site as well, in terms of outside of NFL stuff. So got to spend time in the pub in Beehive in Tottenham, watching the Red Zone with them, just have some drinks and just relaxing, and just that was to get to see us winning against Patriots was really cool experience. But yeah, I think the Patriots for me have been definitely better than advertised. I think they've lost a lot of games close. There was that one game, I think it was against the Patriots from week 3, where it was a blowout. But most of the years, the games they've lost have been pretty close. The Rams game last weekend, and there's been other games where they and even against us, they bought it close. So it's not going to be an easy game. It never is a division game. It's in Miami, which helps, because they, even when they had Tom Brady there in their dynasty, they never seemed to win a Hard Rock. So it's going to be tough. I think I'm confident we get the win, because I do feel like we're maybe they're sort of going like that, sort of stagnant, whereas we're sort of our form's getting up during the season. So I do back us to win the game, and I think run game will be probably where we go, like we have done in recent weeks. But I don't think by any means it'll be an easy game. I can see it being like 10-point win, 7-point win. I think 7.5 is probably accurate. But no, yeah, I think Patriots have been. I think Drake May's been surprisingly good. I did sort of like what I saw of him briefly on the YouTube highlights prior to going to the NFL, and yeah, I don't think it's been perfect, but I think there's been definitely reasons to be positive as a Patriots fan. So for me, yeah, I'm feeling confident about this game. I think we get the win, but yeah, it's going to be a hard ask.
Yeah, Miami have won the last 4 meetings against the Patriots in Miami, so I expect it to continue. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it might be a close one. The Patriots, like I say, are far better than I thought they'd be. I thought this would be an absolute disaster. But yeah, since Drake May's come in, I think he's been doing a real good job, and he's doing enough to inspire hope. I think as a Patriots fan, that's what you can ask for. I think from this season around, that you've got something to look forward to in the future, and he's made some electric plays as well. So we'll see. It'll be a much better game than the first one for sure. I think that's the case. It's not Jacoby Brissett versus Tyler Huntley this time.
Oh,
so, yeah, it should be fun. Andy, you're finishing off this part of the show by taking on our 4-fold challenge. So you had to go at this last season when you came on as well. So we'll see if you can nail all 4 picks. It's real difficult to do. It's not an easy thing to do at all, as proven by we've only hit one between the 3 of us so far. The 3 hosts so far of the show have only hit it once. It's not easy, but that's why it's a challenge, right? And that's why it also pays out at 12-1, because yeah, it's a good bet if it cashes. But we'll start with your favourite then. Who's your favourite of week 12?
Happy the Chiefs Panthers. I think have one of the worst teams I've seen in the last few years against a team that is one of the best I've seen, and just off a loss. I think for me, it's my lock of the week if that's a thing. Chiefs beating the Panthers. I think Andy Reid off a loss, even against the best teams, is almost a lock, let alone against one of the worst teams. I think there's some Panthers fan who are saying, oh, could we be the team that, stops the Chiefs a beat and run? And they have this habit, we saw the Raiders last year, of losing these games that no one expects. But I don't see any way the Panthers win this game. I think the Chiefs, it's a very, very easy win for me for the Chiefs.
Yeah, Chiefs, the big favourites this week as well, the minus 11-point favourites. It's very rare. We see that number a lot as well in the NFL this year. I think we've seen it 2 or 3 times, the number that big. So, yeah, big favourites. And I say off the back of a loss, I like the Chiefs for a big win as well here, Andy. Like if they'd have won that game last week, I'd have been, because they were, if they'd have beat the Bills and then they're coming into this one, this could be the Panthers could play them close, but I can't see it. I think you're right. Chiefs big win, and I think they'll easily win by more than the 11 at least anyway, for sure. I think it might be closer to 20 or 30. I think they'll put a beating on the poor Panthers. Who've looked a little bit better at times, right? Bryce Young looked okay in Munich, and Chuba Hubbard's having a fantastic season. He's one of the top 5 running backs in the NFL, so they've got a few bright spots. But yeah, I think a pummeling at the hands of the Chiefs is on the way. Who's your favourite underdog then? Who are you liking to cause a bit of an upset this week?
The New York Giants.
The Giants? Yeah. Tommy Cutlets?
That's why. I think we saw last year the bounce back they had when they benched Jones, or was he injured? Might have been injured for DeVito. And even though, like we see a lot of times with backup quarterback, they have this week or two where they have this amazing game, and then after a week or two, James Winston, the classic example recently. And I think the Buccaneers team that has struggled recently, they've obviously lost Godwin. There've been injury problems with Mike Evans. And I think the Giants will be boosted, by the benching of Daniel Jones. So I think, they're 5.5 underdogs, plus 5.5. So I think, it's a big ask, and I think they're underdogs for a reason. And I think they can get them. I think Tommy DeVito will have this 1 week. Is it in New York or was it in Tampa Bay?
Yeah, it's at MetLife. So yeah, the Giants are at home, and we'll give you 6 as well. It's flipped to 6, 6-point underdog, so you can have an extra half a point as well, Andy.
Amazing. I'll say that all day long. Yeah, MetLife Stadium. You see his agent on the sideline. I can see, for 1 week and 1 week only, the Giants shocking the NFL world and beating the Buccaneers.
Yeah, the Tommy DeVito, the talk of the town again. It looks like Mike Evans is going to be back. I think from what Todd Bowles has shared today. Which will be big, massive for the Buccaneers as well. Who the door's just about open for them to still win that division after kind of the Falcons' struggles in the last couple of weeks. So we'll see. It should be a good one. And Tommy DeVito, his appointment viewing it. It's a good job because he's going to be likely playing quarterback for the Giants on Thanksgiving when we're going to get Cooper Rush versus Tommy DeVito.
Oh my God, that's an absolute stinker. That's awful.
On prime time as the Cowboys take on the Giants next week. So yeah, that'll be
It reminds
fun.
me of what we almost got in the Super Bowl in the 2017 season when it was almost Case Keenum against Blake Bortles. We were so close to getting that, and that would have been just, I think, fantastic. I think when you get two bad quarterbacks, I think if it's one bad quarterback, one good quarterback, he can make quite a bad game. But I think if he's got two bad ones, then it might make quite a fun game, especially if you like defense.
Yeah, it does make it fun for sure. And yeah, I like it. I think Joe and Byron are going to be fighting over taking the Giants when we make our picks later in the show as well. Riding Tommy DeVito. But yeah, the Giants causing an upset at home to the Bucs. Where's the run? We'll do the under first, Andy. Where do you think there might be a bit of a struggle for points this week?
I've lost it already. Where did I have it? Oh my God, where is this on? Can I give my over
go for your over first, then, mate. Yeah.
Packers Niners currently over 47.5. I think when you got a game which has weapons such as Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. I know he didn't play. I don't know whether he's actually back yet, but you got Jaden Reed, Donvanian Wicks, Romeo Dobbs, Christian McCaffrey's back now. This game with me is primed for points. I know you've got Nick Bosa there on defense, but David McKinney. But I think overall, this game has got so many weapons. They always give us good games, Packers Niners. So I think this is my overpick, 47.5. That would make it probably something like give me 30 points to 25 to Packers. But I think it's gonna be, this might be game of the week for me. I think these are two great franchises, two great teams who always do well every year. So yeah, give me that. And then my under, I remembered it now. It was Titans Texans. I think that the Titans will score many points. I think there'll be 7 or 10 points. I think the Texans will score 15 or 20. I think the under is 41. Yeah, I don't see any way. The way we saw the Texans struggle on O-line this season and the Titans struggles just generally, I can see it being. It could even be like a shutout potentially, but I think Texans will win. But I don't see them scoring more than 41 points between them. I think it'll be give me something like 27-10 to the Texans.
Yeah, it's a fair shout. Might be very similar to the game on Monday night. The Texans beat the Cowboys. And be very similar to that. But the Titans are a little bit more stout on defense than the Dallas Cowboys are. So potentially got the chance to keep it a bit closer. But yeah, I like it, Andy. I think you've got a good chance. So yeah, Chiefs is your favourite. Giants is your underdog. Packers, Niners over 47.5, sorry. And then Texans, Titans under 41. So yeah, I think you've got a good chance with that one, buddy. Thanks very much for coming on. We appreciate you joining us. On Good Teams with Great Teams cover. Just give us a shout, Andy, again. Where can we find you? Where can we follow you with everything you've got going on?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on again. Always a pleasure having you on. And I will be getting you on my podcast again at some point. We will find the time. And yeah, you can find me on Twitter, my own Twitter as Andy Davies Sport. And that is Davis with an E, not without an E. And then on Twitter, on Instagram is Andy R. Davis. And you can also find me on TikTok, Andy Talks NFL. And then my podcast is Across the Pod. And you can find that on all socials at _the pod. Excellent. Good stuff. Make sure you go drop Andy a follow. And Across the Pod is a great listen as well. So make sure you go follow that as well. We're going to be moving on to the next part of our show. We've got the rest of our picks and previews for Week 12 in the NFL. So I'll hand it over to myself, Byron, and Joe for the rest of the show. Thanks again to guest Andy Davies there for joining us, talking about his Miami Dolphins, and also with his fourfold challenge selections. Make sure you go follow Andy across the social media channels, his Twitter or X at Andy Davies Sport, and Across the Pod as well, his NFL podcast. So go give that a follow and listen and support Andy. We're into the second part of the show, and we're going to do our usual picks and preview of Week 12. Byron and Joe have jumped on. Gents, pleasure as always. Week 12, 2/3 of the way through the season.
And just in time for Tommy Cutlet's season.
Just in time for
Crucially.
Tommy DeVito.
Yeah. It's getting towards the end of the season when it's Tommy DeVito time.
I'm sad we have to wait this long, to be fair, because they could have put Daniel Jones out of his misery a while ago.
Yeah, they could. I'm always surprised by those things as well. Like, it's because of the injury guarantee. We talked about it in the summer, or certainly I did. I was like, Daniel Jones won't last a year because of the injury guarantees. I'm always surprised when the wait's so long because, like, what are the Giants playing for? Like, the entire plan this season is to not pay Daniel Jones next season. Seems a bit wild. I thought it'd be Drew Lock getting the first crack, but yeah, it's Tommy Cutlets. Let's go. I'm up for it.
It's the right PR move, I think, isn't it, to play Tommy Cutlets for a fan base that is just so checked out, and it's enough you kind of, but they had obviously the 9-8 year and a playoff win, which feels like so long ago. It was less than 2 years ago when they went and beat the Vikings on the road in the playoffs. But yeah, it's just been so putrid for the Giants for so long. And
it's weird to think, like, in the time we've been NFL fans, which isn't, isn't 40 years, the Giants have won 2 Super Bowls, and yet they still feel like one of the saddest franchises of, like, the time I've been a fan.
Yeah.
It's really, I don't know if it's because, like, both times they were such huge underdogs to do it that, like, it almost doesn't feel real, but, like, yeah, they've been, like, a laughing stock for so long, and yet they've tasted success that none of us have ever had as a fan, so it's very weird. And yeah, I don't have any sympathy for them either. So,
no. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, for entertainment purposes, Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlets gives them a bit of a spark, makes them fun to watch again. I'm just wanting for the content, as we just discussed off before we started recording next. It's fucking ace. Joe, how are you doing? Big week for your Niners. We'll get to that game as it's one of the TV ones.
Yeah, doing good. Excited. Just, with Thanksgiving around the corner, it's the last week before the season actually starts. So, yeah, why not get this week out of the way and get going?
Yeah,
7 days from Cutlet Cooper Rush on Primetime Island game.
Yeah, Tommy Cutlet's Cooper Rush. Oh, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to need to make sure the food's, like, extra good.
I might start talking politics just to get my mind off the game.
Yeah, sad one in the middle. But look, we'll get to that. That's next week. We need to deal with this week first. And as always, what we're going to do, we're going to go through the television games. So the games on Sky, Sunday night, Monday night football, preview those. We'll do our 4-fold challenge picks, go over the rest of our ATS picks for the week, and preview Fantasy Game Day. We've got some cracking tips for Fantasy Game Day as well. Who've introduced another new game this week as well. The new games keep on coming for the guys at Fantasy Game Day. First up, though, the 6 o'clock game on Sky Sports. It's Lions Colts, which I feel is going to be like a real sneaky, entertaining game. I think this one could be quite good fun. Lions are 7.5-point favourites. The over-under in this one is 50.5. What are our thoughts on the game? How are we feeling? Like I say, I think this one could be like a bit of a shootout. I think it could be quite fun.
Agreed, yeah. Anthony Richardson, tougher test than last week against the Jets, but he played a lot better than he had previously in 2024 on Sunday also. I think this has got the marks of a good game. It's on turf, it's indoors. The Lions are on the road, but I don't think they're going to be too phased by going into Indianapolis. And the Lions showed obviously last week against the Jags. And it's no surprise with Dan Campbell. They are more than willing and more than happy to put their foot down and stomp you. So, my bet for the week or for the game goes along with kind of one that I had on our general sheet last week. I had Nine Mitchell to go 50 yards. He just fell short by about 15 yards, I think. But he only got one reception. But he just gets open. I think they need to focus on him more, get Michael Pittman's washed ass out of the building, even though he just got a new contract, so he ain't going anywhere. But I think he's just a really talented wide receiver. He was an interesting prospect coming through the draft, obviously. Went later than I think a lot of people expected, but I think he's been really impressive in not enough work, I would say. So I'm hoping Richardson targets him here a lot. And I just think anytime touchdown plus 600 for a receiver who gets open that often in a game that's going to have a lot of points, I think. It just seems like a bit of a wild one to me.
Yeah, we've seen real good value. The bet like prop last week. My agent didn't get the second catch, did he? That ultimately taking him on. But yeah, I like the shout plus 600. I think this one's a matchup between two of the best ATS teams in the league in the NFL so far this season. Detroit are 8-2 against the spread so far, and Indianapolis are 8-3. So two of the top ATS teams. But I've sided with the Lions. I think they're just such a good road. Such a good road team from a gambling perspective as well. They've won the last 5 on the road, covering 4 out of the 5. They just fell short against the Texans with that walk-off field goal the other week. And they're 21-9 against the spread in the last 30 road games. Like, since Dan Campbell's been there, they're just a machine on the road covering. So yeah, I really love the Lions here at -7.5. Joe, how are you seeing it?
Yeah, it's a strange one just because I expect the Lions to dominate again like they did last week against another AFC South team. But the Colts feel like they're in these close games, whoever they play. I think Shane Steichen he's had 19 one-score games while he's been head coach, and it's only been like 2 years. And, like you mentioned, both of these, like Richardson 6-1 against the spread this season as well. And he's 8-0 when it's a 7, when they're teaser -7. So he does keep it close, and it feels like the Colts do that. But can they do this against a Lions team which, is coming off a 50-point, embarrassment of the Jags, and trying to do that again with all their players who just, who's looking great. Obviously, they had a big injury in the defense with Alex Anzalone going on to IR, which I think is a big miss because he's one of them players who, whenever you watch the Lions, is just always around the ball. He's always there with his long blonde hair. The camera was always following him. And so how big of a miss will it be? Obviously, they've done well without Aiden Hutchinson. Are they a kind of team which just keeps, next man up, and you don't really notice it? So I've led the Lions, and I've got St. Brown to have another big game. My bet is St. Brown to get 100 plus receiving yards, 7 plus receptions, and anytime touchdown. He's actually gone 8 games in a row with a touchdown, so he's going for 9 in a row. And I don't know what the record is, but I'm sure it's getting there, and I'm sure he's breaking a lot of Lions record as it is. And being indoor again, I think this team might put some points on, and can the Colts keep up? Can they hit them big plays, which Richardson can do, but they're going to need a lot more than they did like when they were playing the Jets, because the Jets offense went to sleep for a quarter and a half basically, and I don't think this Lions offense will do that. So I think it all depends on how the Colts can keep up with the Lions.
Yeah, potentially Sam Laporta back as well, who missed last week as well for the Lions. So I just think this is one where I think the Lions can get up big. I just don't think Richardson's going to be able to make enough plays. He was a lot better last week, to be fair, and I've slagged him off enough, so credit where credit's due. Like, he was a lot better last week, but I just don't think he's going to be able to consistently move the ball through the game enough to be able to keep up with the Lions. So
what do you think of the sorry, I was just going to say, because obviously most people have gone for the Lions, like 99% of the money is on the Lions to win and cover the spread. But the over-under, I was surprised that with a 50, I think most of the money so far is under. And I think there's a few stats how high-scoring teams do have a dip at the end of the season. There's, I think the percentage they do drop, especially after having such a big game. So what do you think of the 50 number? Are you going over or under, and how are you seeing that part of it?
I don't want to give anything away too much, Joe, for our picks. Okay. I would naturally lean the under. I think I've said that a lot with these Anthony Richardson games. Last week I was on the under and got bitten. And that was unlucky. That was just more the Jets, wasn't it? Kind of exploding out of nowhere with 27 points in 32 minutes, I guess, because by the time they got the first down. So, but yeah, I think I've lent and hit a lot on these Richardson games, hitting under. So I think I would. I think it'd be difficult. I wouldn't necessarily see Detroit putting 40 or 50 up again themselves. Like, I think naturally when you have that game, huge explosion, 52, you tend to drop off the next week. But that's not to say they won't get late 20s, early 30s. It's just whether the Colts can do their bit. But I would lean the under on it, but I'm a bit torn on the number. You stole my stat jokes. I was going to share the 88% of bets and 99% of the money's on the Lions minus 7.5. But I do have trivia question. Number one trivia question. So this is the first time the Lions have been favourites at Indianapolis since the 22nd of September, 1991. It's my dad's birthday. Shout out, Big Al. What was the UK number one? And if you don't get this in the first pick, the first attempt, we need to end this segment of doing this.
Is it Bryan Adams?
It is Bryan Adams.
Everything
I do it for you, yeah.
Happy birthday, Al, and let's go.
Right in the middle of the run.
What was it, 16 weeks?
A lot of weeks. I think I've closed the page.
I knew it was that because obviously I was born probably 2 months after that, and I think I just missed out. I think, it just wasn't number one in the UK. So I think everyone before me in my school year had that as their number one when they were born, and I just missed out. So.
Yeah, it was Bryan Adams. Everything I do it for you. There you go. That was my step. That was my bit. I thought you might have picked that one, Byron, for this one, but
no, a bit of an obvious one.
Bit of an obvious one.
No, I didn't look it up. Dan Campbell is also 4-0 against AFC South teams. Never lost. As Lions coach, I didn't look up his actual full history.
Oh, as a Dolphins and then as a player.
Yeah, just as a Lions head coach. Yeah.
Excellent. Good stuff. Right, moving on. Joe, massive one for you and your San Francisco 49ers. 2.5 point underdogs heading to Green Bay. Over-unders 47.5. Joe, we'll start with you. What are your feelings on this one? It feels like a huge one for the Niners.
It's a must-win. I think it's getting to that point. It is a must-win because the week after they've got the Bills coming off a bye. I think that's going to be a struggle. We've got the Lions later on. So if you say, 2 losses there, then they're at 7 losses. It's going to be tricky to get at night. 10-7, you would have to go win the rest of the way. And I think the problem is they've already lost the Vikings, who they'll probably be battling with a wildcard team. And I think Lions are going to win that division, so you're going to be battling with the Packers as well. So again, another wildcard team. So if you lose this one, you've lost a head-to-head to 2 of them. You've lost the Cardinals and the Rams, who's going to be there. I think it's massive just for the division. It's just to get back. Well, they're not out of the division race because the Cardinals have got the Seahawks. We'll see what happens there. If the Seahawks win, then I think and Rams win there, everyone will be on 6-5. So it's anyone's game. But I just think for the wild card, because I don't think they're guaranteed to win that division. So if they want to battle for, the 7-6 spot, it's this team they've got to beat. It's going to be the Packers. Like I said, they've lost the Vikings. It's probably going to be the Commanders. So it's in between them teams, and they've got to pick up this win. And and I'm leaning to the 49ers just because I've got hope, and I just don't think the season ends here. It's just worrying because I think Bosa is a bit up in the air, but I don't think he'll play. And I think it's huge with this defense who's taken a massive drop. That when Bosa doesn't play, we've just got nothing up front against a John Love who, I think if you give him time, he can hit them big players. I think, but they are, again, it feels like a team who either hits like massive players or they don't do too much. I think it's huge. I think everyone's got to step up, and I'm just leaning the Niners just because of the points. But I think it is a toss-up where, both teams feel very similar going into this game.
Yeah, Bosa didn't practice yesterday. Kittle said for sure he's going to play. And Purdy's obviously appeared on the injury report as well this week with a shoulder injury and was limited. So
he wasn't throwing in practice today.
Yeah, so I'm sure he will play though.
I'm sure he'll play, but what version of him plays? Because he looked like he had a little less zip. I would say the last couple of weeks it feels like, but certainly against Seattle he was running really well, but it looked to me like his throws were a little underpowered compared to how he's been in this first half of the year. Certainly, I think it is a big concern. Trent Williams I think he will play, but he's not clear at this point to play, which I don't think you can underestimate how big of a loss that would be if he can't play.
I wouldn't say the Packers defensive line similar. That they've done nothing this year. They played a Bears team who's letting anyone go past, and there's plenty of opportunity for Caleb Williams. Yeah, I think he had his best game this year against them. So I'm curious how the Packers will play this because they have been playing man to man more this year rather than zone. which they played zone in the playoff, which scrambled Purdy quite a lot until the end. But you never, that's not going to happen all the time where you expect to come back against teams. So I'm curious how they're going to play Purdy in that sense. So the Niners have just not been explosive. I think they've gone. It's something crazy like the yak. They've gone from first to like low 20s, and the explosive plays have gone from 12 to 32nd. Like they're the worst. Separation. They've gone from like 30th to 32nd this year. When you think of the 49ers team, and I said, their separations is worse than the Giants, the Panthers, the Jags, all them kind of teams. You won't believe it, but they're just not getting open. And for Kyle Shanahan offense, you expect them to be explosive and see all these big plays, but it just feels, it's just frustrating because it just feels so slow and just like trudging, and like they can never get like a full game going. They can't just like do a full game of like looking good all way through. So we'll see. And then, like I said, on the Packers side, I think Josh Jacobs is massive. See if he can get it running, because I think everything works off, and can the 49ers limit the big plays, what they seem to hit quite a lot, which I think is good that Tre'Davious Ward is playing this game. He's coming back from, obviously, personal issues. So I think that's massive to get your number one cornerback against this team who has, unlimited wide receiver talent, it feels like.
Yeah. I'm on the Niners plus 2.5, but I don't love it. And it's kind of the reason I've seen the numbers on it. It's 79% of the bets and 83% of the money is on the Niners plus 2.5. I guess just the nature of what we're seeing. You don't get too many games where you get the Niners as underdogs like this over the last kind of recent years. So just feels daft not to take it. But I don't love it. I don't love that fact I'm on that side and that much money. That percent of the money's on the Niners, percent of the bet. So we'll see. But Niners of I just think same as you. I think they just have to have it. If the Packers lose this one, obviously it's not the end of the world for them. But I think if the Niners do, it's big trouble. So I'm going to take the Niners, but I don't love it.
I've gone for Dontavian Wicks anytime touchdown as my bet, plus 400, and it's kind of a tough one to logically explain. He's been really quiet the last few weeks, but his underlying metrics still look good. He gets open a ton. His hands aren't the best, which, it's not really something you want to advertise when you're saying that you've bet on somebody to do something well. But it is kind of a bet on he's due. I think for the most part, he's shown that he can get in the end zone. Like last year, I think he got a touchdown like every 7-8 catches. It was a very good amount. He's got 4 touchdowns already on the season. And again, I just kind of think he's due, which is kind of a silly way to go. But I think at plus 400, I think it's something that you can attack with on the 49ers with how they looked last week, especially. JSN had a lot of fun, I think, against the 49ers secondary. And I just wanted to kind of touch on your point there about separation, Joe, as well. Like, mainly because Dontavian Wicks shows up in the same kind of metrics as Brandon Ayuk, has just always been open. And I know Brandon Ayuk hadn't had the most explosive start to his season this year, but he was still getting open, still getting so much separation. And it does feel like since he went down, that like Juwan Jennings has stepped up, 3rd and 1, Juwan, as they're calling it. But like, it feels so much more congested without Ayuk there to, beat any defender one-on-one. It feels so much more, like you say, methodical, just matriculating the ball down the field. And I think against this Green Bay team, I've took Green Bay on now ATS, spoiler alert, I guess, a little, just because I think with no Bosa, and I know you've said it a lot this year, Joe, but like it feels like the Niners just make everything so hard for themselves. And part of that is the lack of separation and having to go down the field. There's no like 2-play drives that end in a touchdown. And I just kind of worry, we touched on it earlier, Brock Purdy's arm. If he's not good to go, we've seen them Green Bay safeties will take the ball off you. And I just worry, if his arm isn't fully fit, not fully full strength, then you're going to see Xavier McKinney jump in routes as often as he likes, essentially. And it might not always obviously result in an interception, but I think this is a real rough spot for San Francisco, truthfully.
Yeah. So I kind of see, Byron, you had the bet on Ricky Pearsall props last week, and obviously he laid an egg last week and get anything. I feel like he should start to becoming a bigger part of the offense, and I guess that's why you had those props last week. But yeah, I just feel like he's the one, I think, for me at the minute, who you feel like you can get big plays out of, who has that kind of home run ability. And I just don't know, maybe it's time. Obviously, he's maybe missed out so much time to start his rookie year. And I don't know if there is a bit from Shanahan just to try and focus on it, and because you're not getting, the production that you'd get from your usual stars. So,
yeah, I'm curious because obviously I know I mentioned in the chat that Jay Alexander is questionable, and it sounds like he might not play. So I think that's big. And Adrian Cooper as well got injured in practice today. It looks like he'll probably play, and a few of us, but I think they're banged up as well. So it's and yeah, and I'll happen off because I watch the 49ers quite a lot and have been playing. But Packers, I feel like mentioned by the similar that they've not really blown any teams out lately, and they struggled. They should have lost to the Bears, who were like a waltzing corpse 2 weeks ago, and I think Caleb Williams had a huge game, and I think Kittle being back is huge. I think Byron, you sent that stat when he's actually in the team there, the rushing game is so much better than when he's not in. So I think that's huge. I do hope they put Jordan Mason in a little bit more. I think they're just going a bit too much CMC. I think he had the most amount of snaps he played last week compared to even last year. So it's a bit like, I know we're trying to
look explosive yet.
Yeah, and I don't know if giving him more snaps is going to help that. I don't know if it's rust. I think it's just getting back. So it's going to take time. So I think getting Jordan Mason in to do some of the dirty work, because the Niners are just like, feels like first down 1 yard, second down another yard, and then it's 3rd and 8 and it's going to Juwan Jennings. That it feels like really obvious most players. So it's frustrating. So for my bet, I've got CMC to get over 50 receiving yards at plus 250. I just think how they're going to play. I think if they do go man-to-man against his 49ers, they probably could cover the main threat. So I think CMC coming out the backfield and Dinkin and Purdy. And he's probably looked more explosive catching the ball than running. So I've got CMC 50 plus receiving yards. And hopefully beat this Packers team who, even though they've only lost 3, have not been a scary proposition to how they played at the end of last year. Especially with Jordan Love is very up and down. So.
And despite my, I guess, relatively strong feelings of a Packers victory, the 49ers 3-0 in their ATS in the last 3 visits to Lambeau. Shanahan as a road underdog is 18-12 against the spread. And Green Bay are 1-2 as home favourites this year. So I think all them numbers kind of point that San Fran are going to be real competitive. I don't know if it's just me being overly negative and overly... I think it's because part of it is I have such a high bar for San Francisco that whenever they're not meeting it, I instantly think, oh, fuck, they must be fucked. And Shanahan has shown enough that I should give him more benefit of the doubt, probably. But, yeah.
Yeah, part maybe the Niners keeps them good. They'll come good. They'll start playing well.
Yeah.
It's just not happening at the minute.
Sorry, I've just found a stat which is mind-blowing. Purdy's got his first 31 career regular season start as a favourite. This is his first time as an underdog.
No way.
It's a regular starter, which I've just read.
Madness.
Yeah.
So he's never lost as an underdog.
Not in regular season, no, yeah.
That's madness.
Could we be starting a new streak, Patrick Holmes? Let's see. But yeah, and that's probably you so rarely see the Niners as underdogs. That's why I'm going to take them, give me more points, because we know how good they can be. So yeah, Niners at Green Bay, a massive one. That's the Sky games, 2 great ones this week. Sunday Night Football, very NFC focused. Eagles at Rams. Eagles are 3-point favourites. Over-under is 48.5. I'll kick off on this one. I'm just going to keep riding this bet until it doesn't come in. So the Eagles have hit these hit this kind of parlay. They would have. I've not hit it. I've only backed it twice, I think. But 5 games in a row, they would have hit these numbers. They just part of this success of why they've kind of won 6 in a row. They've just just that run game's been brutal and lethal, and it's happened in various different ways. They've killed teams early with it. They've killed teams late with it. Committing to Saquon Barkley, committing to running the ball. and it's working for them. And they're grinding teams down, and they're hammering teams at the minute. So I'm going to go with it again. So it's over 33.5 rush attempts, over 154.5 yards, and over 1.5 rushing touchdowns. It's plus 240. It was plus 400, 4-1 to start with. It keeps coming down every week. I think it was plus 280 last week. It's now plus 240. It's going to keep me down there. Obviously, there's going to be a week where it doesn't hit, of course, but I think the Eagles have got that formula that works for them. They're playing really well on defense, and we're just going to run it down your throat. Rams, again, have been, it's not been particularly strong. LA Rams defense has it so far. They're only giving up 127 yards on the ground, but Eagles are rushing 180 on average, 180 yards a game so far. Top rushing attack in the NFL, and I don't think the Rams have got enough to slow them down.
Sorry, my button wasn't unmuting. I think this is really the crucial matchup of the game. That Rams defensive front against the Eagles offensive front. Some stats from Jordan Rodrigo, the Athletic, which I thought were very interesting in this regard. So the Rams D-line weeks versus run weeks 1 to 4 were ranked 32 in yards, 31 in EPA, 4.8 yards per carry. Since week 7, so week 7 through 11, same 4 weeks. Number 11 in rushing yards allowed, 3 in EPA, only 3.6 yards per carry. And kind of like what is at the heart of this matchup. Lane Johnson has a 4th lowest pressure rate at right tackle. Jordan Mailata has a 7th lowest pressure rate at most left tackles. But the Rams' young defensive line are pressuring opposing quarterbacks on 41.9% of their dropbacks, the highest pressure rate in the NFL. I think that's where this game is won and lost. Hell of an ask for that young Rams D-line, which is second-year and first-year players. But they are getting better as the season goes. If they can win that matchup, then I think the Rams win the match. And kind of ultimately, if they don't win that matchup, then I think the Eagles win. I think it's a fascinating game coming up. I've lent on the Rams here because I am saying the O-line, D-line matchup is so crucial. And again, this is a bit like my Dontavian Wicks call. Sirianni's due shitting himself, right?
Yeah, it's been
kept himself quiet and clean for a few weeks, and a few weeks too many is kind of my thought on it. So I'm just kind of thinking Nick Sirianni's going to do something stupid. I think this game's really well matched up. I don't love the Eagles, but I love this Eagles team this season. Obviously, I picked them to win the division. I picked them to beat the Cowboys twice as our early season stuff. I think they're a really well set team, but I think the Rams are as well. I think the Rams are getting better as the season goes along. I was stunned they didn't beat the Dolphins a couple of weeks ago, but I think they're a really strong team and they're getting better. Cooper Kupp's getting fitter. Puka Nakua's getting fitter. That's where I've gone with my bet of the game. Puka Nakua to have a rushing attempt, plus 200. He's had a lot of them during his career. It's kind of tailed off a bit this season, but I think now that he's getting more fully integrated into the team, I think it's a way they're going to keep the Eagles front from pushing forward onto Kyren Williams, he gets his touchdowns, but I don't think Kyren Williams is like a special back. Great if you got him in fantasy because he scores a touchdown every week, it feels like, but he's not someone that you can build. He's not a Todd Gurley. He's not someone you can build your offense around. And I think being creative in Puka Nakua is going to be really important to, getting first downs against this Eagles defense, which has been really good, and maybe keeps Quinion Mitchell a little more away from Puka.
Yeah, I would say that's, again, the other part of it. Again, we've seen Quinion Mitchell in particular, but this Eagles secondary's improved massively from kind of obviously how they fell apart at the back end of last season. And Quinion Mitchell, they've matched him up against your best guy almost every week, and he's won the battle. Problem is the Rams have got 2 of them. And Cooper DeJean, who's also played well, to be fair. But yeah, it's can they cover both? I think it's going to be that secondary's biggest test yet of Cooper Rush and too many Coopers. I've just said Cooper Rush as well. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nakua. It certainly wasn't a test for Cooper Rush the other week, but yeah, sorry. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nakua against Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell. So yeah, should be a fun one. I've liked the Eagles as well. I kind of like I think they're just on a roll at the minute. Obviously, it's going to come to a halt. I'm going to win out, but like I say, I think they're on a roll, and I think they're really going to push the Lions to this number 1 seed as well. They've recovered from last year and they're rolling at the minute. Hate to see it, obviously, but They're playing great football. Saquon is also just unbelievable at the minute. And I think he's overtaking Derrick Henry as well for Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, hard to disagree.
Which is one of my futures somewhere as well. And I need to get out the price. It was a good price as well. Pat me on back there. Joe?
Yeah. Yeah, I've lent the Eagles as well. I just think they've actually shown that they're a dominant team this year. I don't think the Rams have. I think they've got nice pieces, but even against the Patriots last week, they let the Patriots stick around, and they're just a team I've never been confident in. It's huge having Puka, and I think both of these teams are one of them teams where when their number one wide receiver plays, it makes a massive difference. As when like AJ Brown goes out of this team, they're suddenly not the same team. So I think he's massive player, and I think he's going to have a big game because when he's played in the 10 games, they're 7-0 straight up and averaging 30 points a game. And when he's out, they're 1-2 and only averaging 17. So I think it's huge having AJ Brown back, and I think he's going to have a big game against this Rams. And I also think Hurts. I've got Hurts over 264.5 pass and rushing yards, and also getting a touchdown because they love to get it on the 1 yard line and giving it to Hurts to get that cheeky touchdown, and that's a plus 210. So I'd in that touchdown just to bump up the price a little bit. And just looking at the over, I think I'm probably going to go under just with how Jalen Hurts has been on the road. He's 21-12 to the under on the road in his career, and 11-4 since the start of last year. So the Eagles and Hurts do love a good under. And another interesting fact about Jalen Hurts. Before 2024, he was 6-14-1 against the spread as a favourite away from home. He was the 61st out of 62 quarterbacks in that span. But he's gone 3-1 this year and scoring 28 plus points in 3 out of 4 games. So he's turning it around as a road favourite. So I can see that he's going to carry that on against the Rams this year.
Jalen Hurts, road warrior. Yeah.
Sounds like a Mad Max film. And again, I've gone for the Rams on the ATS, but the Eagles are 3-0 against the Rams as favourites in wherever the Rams are based. Historically, whether that's LA or St. Louis, and that's as favourites. And lifetime at the Rams Stadium, again, whichever stadium that is, they are 7-1 against the spread. They only didn't cover on December 27th, 2004. What was the UK number one that day?
December 27th, 2004.
That's going to be 13.
Feel like, is that like the start of like the X Factor pop idol runs of being Christmas number ones?
I think it was in the middle of it, and it wasn't a actor/reality person.
2004.
It wasn't Band-Aid, was it? The updated version.
Yeah. Band-Aid 20. Do they know it's Christmas? Yeah, great shout.
Just because I know it's been in the news, and I think it's like they released a number one 20 years on, aren't they?
Oh, I don't know, but I seen it was in the news, but yeah, that would make sense actually.
Yeah, they're doing a 40th. It's 40 years since the original.
If they don't know it's Christmas by now,
they're doing a super cut of all the stars from over the versions and putting it together as one. So they're not even bothering
to fucking money.
They're not even bothering to record an actual fucking new version of it. They're just cutting up old versions. I told this Jenny, but I can't remember if I told you. This is not related to NFL. It's related to Band-Aid. I'm sure I must have shared it. I told you at one point, and now it's going to be recorded. When I first started working at Sky many years ago on the phones, one of my jobs is I used to help people fix their broadband. And Bob Geldof rang up, and he was not happy with this situation, and he called me the C word over the phone. Yeah, Bob Geldof.
You should have said you haven't paid us your bill. You need to give us your fucking money.
Yeah.
But yeah, on that as well.
He called me see you next
Was that first of many, Paul? Yeah.
I was very shocked. It was hilarious, but yeah. Moving on. Getting in the Christmas spirit. Harbaugh Bowl. That's where we're on to next. Monday Night Football. Baltimore Ravens. Los Angeles Chargers in LA. Ravens are 3-point favorites. Over-under is 50. Some high over-unders this week, haven't we? Especially in the TV game. So what have we just done? 50.5, 47.5, 48.5, and 50. So expecting some high point scoring games. Where are we siding on this one? The brothers do battle again. Harbaugh v. Harbaugh. Who we liking?
I like Harbaugh to take it. I like the Los Angeles Chargers. I just think it pains me to like. I in the off season or preseason, I was down on the Ravens because I thought the defense wasn't going to be good enough and the O-line wasn't going to be good enough. And then they came out pretty poor, but then they came out fucking steamrolling. I was like, oh, what an idiot! And the Ravens are so good. And as the weeks have gone by, that pass defense is looking more and more and more of an issue. And what I didn't envision was Justin Tucker looks below league average, and that can't happen. You can't have two such crucial phases of your game be bad. And I kind of worry about Baltimore. I don't think Baltimore. Someone put a question out the other day of like, how many teams can win the Super Bowl and you wouldn't be surprised? And the Ravens weren't in my list anymore because I don't think that defense is going to improve between now and January. I don't know how it would. And I just don't think they've got the pieces to truly contend. And I have the Chargers as a team that can win the Super Bowl because they're so well coached. They're so fundamentally sound. They have an incredible quarterback, just like Baltimore do. And again, I said this about the Bengals game. Like they just don't. They just wait for you to get in your own way. It feels like they are so well coached, and that culture change has been so instant. So yeah, I've took them on our ATS. What did you say they were? +3. So I don't have the sheet.
Yeah, +3 to get a field goal. Yeah,
+3. Yeah, I just think if it comes down to a close game, I just trust them to execute more. I think Herbert can do anything you want him to, whether it's running, whether it's hitting a big play. My bet for the game is Lad McConkey, 110 plus receiving yards. He's hit, I think, 2 of his last 4. And against this Baltimore secondary, it's just a case of does he get enough targets to hit it. I have no doubt he's going to be open all game. I was tempted to go Quentin Johnson because he's been getting for a touchdown because he's been getting touchdowns at an extraordinary rate because he just keeps getting these mildly open plays, which I don't know how. It just feels like he just runs literally past people and they just stop running. So I don't know if he's like got mind control or something in there, Quentin Johnson.
Well, they don't know he can catch the ball now. That's the thing.
You'd think they'll start figuring it out though, right? Yeah. At some point. So yeah, I've gone Lad McConkey because I think he's been incredible this last probably 6 weeks. Yeah, he's not going to be rookie of the year certainly, but I think where you look, I think it was on the NFL Daily podcast this week where they talked about the Patriots traded down and took Jalen Polk at 37, and the pick that they traded was to the Chargers, who took Lad McConkey at 34. And you think, my word, what a 2 picks that has been in complete opposite directions. Lad McConkey looks like the total real deal. I thought he'd be good coming into the year. I didn't know if I thought he'd be this good, but yeah, I've got him. 110 receiving yards plus 310. I think it's a great price, just in case whether he gets enough targets to hit it.
It's weird as well because, like, if Belichick was still there at the Patriots, there's no way that trade would have happened because Lad McConkey is a Patriots wide receiver, isn't it? Like, yeah. Edelman. Well, yeah, just that. Yeah, vibe. Anyway, it's funny you say that, kind of how you feel about the Chargers now, because there should be one reason alone why Chargers fans can be hopeful. I know over all these years they've struggled and blow things and get in good positions and balls it up. There's one reason alone Chargers fans should be hopeful that they can go far in the postseason and can get to a Super Bowl and win it. And that's because I cashed out my future on the Los Angeles Chargers this week. 12-1. I got back in the end from it. So you know what? The journey of how we got there was a little bit different, kind of 1 week out, but that was kind of what we were going for. They were 60-1 when I took them. They're in at 25. I think that's right, isn't it? Unless it's changed since we're out, right? Where are we? Yeah, LA Chargers plus 2,500. 25-1. I kind of got, obviously, with that coming in, the cash out on them at 12-1. So, yeah, pretty happy with that. But I just took it this week to, again, when Notre Dame's good. Every week they continue to win is more and more money I've left on the table. So I should have waited because they're obviously going to get in the playoffs. I should have waited until before wildcard weekend. But I took my 12-1 now.
Profit.
Yeah.
Turn it down.
Yeah. Chargers are going to win the fucking whole thing now.
Well, that's the thing. You bet on the Chargers, but you cashed out on the Charbors. I don't know if I would have done it. But you can't turn down profit.
Cannot. Joe, what are you seeing for this one?
Yeah, you know what? I think Baltimore bounce back.
Joe, why are you
I'm not quite sure. It must be my camera. Yeah, I think the Chargers, like, they've surprised me this year. They've been, the defense has been, I think we mentioned, the most improved. They've looked great, especially the first half. They're keeping teams to like less than 8 most games. I just really like how they did that against the Bengals. I think the Ravens' offense can be as explosive as that Bengals team, and I just worry that if the Bengals can do them to him, can the Ravens do as well? And I think they can. I think this Ravens run defense is a lot better than the Chargers one, so I don't think the Chargers can get on that running game. What they would like to do, I think it's going to be all on Herbert's shoulders, and can he keep it going how he has been the last few games? So I think that's, I do worry. And, some of the stats, and I've looked at a few of the stats, especially with Lamar, he's so when he's either a favorite of 3 points or less, or as an underdog, he's 25-6 against the spread. And when he's favored by more, he's 25, 35-1. So he loves these tight ones and loves to win the spread. Also, on night games, he is 19-5 straight up. And that's the best win percentage of any quarterback who's had at least 15 starts since the merger. So it's all leaning towards that the Ravens pull out here. They'll have a good night game.
Quick question. If this is Monday night football in LA and it starts at 5 o'clock LA time, or 5:15, I guess it would be, does that make it a night game?
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking.
So because there'd never be any night games if not in LA.
And it's, to be fair, what does the top right of the thing say? It doesn't say Monday afternoon football.
Well, it is Monday afternoon football, isn't it?
It is Monday night football. We don't do the branding. The NFL is telling me it's at night.
Yeah, and the Chargers haven't won 4 home games in a row since the 2007 season. So it's, the odds.
What was number one on the
I haven't got the number one. I've just seen. I know I should have done that. I should have brought one to the table. But yeah, and I just feel the Ravens are going to bounce back. I think having that loss last week, and I think the Steelers do have something over them. And I just think Lamar and the rest of the company are going to bounce back. And I think it's going to be a big game for the wide receivers. I've got Lamar Jackson longest completion at plus 50 yards. I was looking at other ones, but they haven't got many lines on the receiving side. So I just thought that I can just see, especially the second half, Lamar just dumping it to Keaton Mitchell and he running like a 70-yard catch. So yeah, a plus 350. I thought that could be a good one for Jackson because he does love a good sling it down the field.
Excellent. I've gone for the over. It's 50. So the line for our purposes was 50, but it's 51 by the time I got to it. And placed the bet. I just think this is going to be a fun game. Ravens defense obviously can't defend the pass. You've talked about it. This might be one of them games where old school Chargers game where Justin Herbert has to throw it 55 times. And obviously the Ravens offense, even though they're coming up against a bit of a better defense, and they struggled last week obviously against a good defense in the Steelers. They're still, they're averaging 30 points a game. I think the Ravens might get close to that number. And yeah, they obviously can't defend the pass. And with McConkey and Johnson, they do have some pieces. Will Disley's been involved as well. So yeah, I think the Chargers can kind of keep it going for a while. So I like over 51. I think it's just might be a real fun game. And cracker on Monday night, Sunday night and Monday night in LA. Cool. That's the TV games and the primetime games covered. We're going to jump to do our 4-fold challenge. So you heard Andy's picks earlier on. He's gone for the Chiefs of his favourites, the Giants as his underdog, Tommy Cutlets, every time. The Niners, Packers over 47.5, and Titans, Texans under 41, just over 12-1 plus 12.28. Joe, you've got the first pick this week. I tried to buy you a little bit of time there so you could make and prepare your selection for the screen. That's how good I am to you. What are you taking first for the Week 12 4-fall challenge?
Well, I'm doing a typical what we normally do. I'm going to choose a game what we've already talked about. This is more just because I haven't got too many underdogs, but I'm going to stick with my 49ers, guys, and I'm going to go 49ers plus 2.5 as my underdog. Yeah. I do believe, like I said, I do lean the 49ers. I think they are going to win this one, but also there's not many underdogs this week I'm confident with.
Cool. I also just need to remember as well that you've taken an underdog away from me, haven't you? Because you flipped it on the sheet. That's right, isn't it? Bugger. Okay, then I've only got one other underdog, so I better take it, haven't I? So I've got plenty of other selections. I can't believe I'm going to do it because every time I pick them, I get it wrong. But I'm going to pick the Chicago Bears plus 3.5 at home to the Vikings. Yeah, it was a heartbreak last week with the way that game went. I'm just leaning on the divisional game underdog. Take the points. Should be close. Should be a close game. And therefore, I'm going to take the Bears because they've got more than a field goal. Yeah, I've not been particularly impressed with the Vikings over the last few weeks. They kind of made a bit of a meal of it against Tennessee last week as well, I thought. So I think they're struggling. I know Darnold kind of had a bit of a better game. But I think obviously the Bears defense are due to kind of step back up, I think, and kind of put, get them back in a game and dominate a game. And yeah, I just think as well, Caleb took a step forward last week. I know it wasn't a winning one because of obviously what happened on special teams and the way they coached that last drive. But I think he's going to keep that momentum going. And the Bears just kind of need a win, don't they, just get out of the funk of it. Because obviously what's happened the last month or so. But I'm going to take the Bears as a divisional home underdog. I
think only thing I worried just about that game and why I've gone the Vikings is I think Brian Flores hasn't been bringing the blitz and all that kind of stuff the last few weeks. I feel like with Caleb Williams, he's going to send absolutely everything. And it's can Caleb Williams get the yards on the ground, which he did against the Packers. I don't know if he can do that against that Vikings defense, but you never know. And if it's a close one.
I think the Vikings have won the last 4 in Chicago, and against the spread as well. But also all 9 of the last 10 have been unders. So that's why I'm kind of thinking it's going to be a close game. And therefore, I'll take the 3.5. And that F needs to change to a U. Definitely not taking the Bears as a favourite.
Cool. I'll let you take an F, Joe. I'm going to go with... going to mention his name for I think this is the 58th time of this episode. I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -6 against Tommy Cutlets' New York Giants. Yeah, we've already heard from Andy has taken the Giants for his selection. I very much disagree, unsurprisingly. I think the Bucs are in. They've got a real nice end of the season schedule. That division is still just about in play for them, and I think the foot goes on the gas here. Mike Evans is back. They've gone against Tommy DeVito. I would have picked them to beat Daniel Jones as well, to be fair, but I don't think you'd have got -6 on it. You'd probably got -4, maybe 3. I just think they're a better team, and I think the Giants are potentially in disarray because that locker room sounds pissed off. They know that Daniel Jones has been benched for financial reasons. They're speaking about it openly. I think there's a good chance this might cost Brian Daboll the locker room at least through the end of the season because players don't like to go out and bust their ass when they know you're making financial decisions for why they're not going to win games. What incentive have you got if you're Dexter Lawrence to fucking push your body through what you have to go through every week? You know that you're on a losing team. And let's face it, I've seen a lot of talk of they're not putting Drew Lock in because it'll cost them an extra $250,000 if he plays a certain amount of snaps this week. I cannot believe that's true because that's such an insignificant amount of money for an NFL team. But, they know that Daniel Jones isn't in there for financial reasons. This team is trying to get the number 1 pick. Tommy DeVito is fun, but he's not an NFL quarterback. And, I mean, I mourn because my Malik Neighbors bet I think he's dead in the water now. Not that Danny Dimes was great, but Danny Dimes is kind of a sub-Dalton line level NFL quarterback, but he can play quarterback. He's not he's not Tommy DeVito, he's not Drew Lock. He's better than both of them. I don't know what his future will be, but I just think this is such a brutal move, and it's been so poorly received by the players. It feels like so. I think this could be a stomping.
I think they're on
the
flight,
Giants.
aren't they? The Giants. I think that's
Yeah.
you're right. It's just
So
so hard.
annoyed. Yeah, I'm so annoyed you chose this. This was my favorite to pick as well.
It's so hard, isn't it? Like as you said, for those players around to go, well, this is what we know, and it's not like this isn't only a couple of games now either. It's you've got 7 games left.
Exactly.
But the city of New York is in disarray. The Yankees got hammered in the World Series. The Giants suck. The Jets suck. The city of New York and the state of New Jersey needs a hero. Tommy Cutlers is that man.
They've got the New York Rangers, you know. They've got the ice hockey.
They've got the ice hockey, but yeah. The New York sports as a whole for such a long time has been so poor. Tommy DeVito is the man to give them some hope, even if it's just for 1 week.
Doubt. I'll go into my over because I know I can take my under with my last pick. So I'm going to go Texans-Titans over 41 points. I think there's points to be had on both sides. Will Levis is not a baller, but he had a good showing last week, even if the points weren't fully there. Calvin Ridley's been shining since Nuke went to Kansas City. I think this is just a pretty nice low number that I think is easily hittable. CJ Stroud has had an up and down season, certainly from where we thought he was as a rookie. But Nico Collins had a huge touchdown called back last week that absolutely banged Joe's bet of the Monday Night Football on what would have been the first play of the game, I think, or maybe the second play of the game.
It was the first play of the game.
Literally the first play of the game, yeah, and cost me a lot of fantasy matchups because I'm huge on Nico Collins. I absolutely love him. But yeah, another week back to fitness for Nico Collins. Titans' pass defense has started well, but getting worse again by the week. I just think this is going to be maybe not a good old shootout, but I think there's going to be a lot of points in it. So yeah, I think over 41's pretty hittable here.
That Titans pass defense is still giving up the fewest yards per game in the NFL, but there's some reasons for that, and there's definitely they're second in terms of yards per game given up as well. So turnovers,
they keep getting the ball, yeah,
turnovers, but also they're horrendous on special teams, particularly kickoff and punt returns are horrendous. So they're giving up short fields that way as well. So like this is why. So I think it's very, very deceiving. Those kind of Titans numbers on kind of the defensive yards because they just give up so many short fields for a variety of different reasons.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my over anyway. Yeah.
Cool, good stuff. It's your underdog that you can pick last, by the way. You said under, but obviously you're under.
I meant underdog. Yeah, I knew what it was.
Just checking. Didn't want you to make an error. So I'm trying to keep the playing field fair. Right, I've got a few favourites. All the ones taken off. Should I go over or should I crack open the unders? I'm gonna go. I can't have taken that. I'm gonna go Cardinals Seahawks under 46.5. As my under. So I had Titans Texans on my list, but now you've taken it. I didn't want to go against you, Byron. We saw what happened last week. It ended up as a push. So, I'm going to go Cardinals Seahawks under 46. I don't think this is going to be a tight one. Everything says it should be a fun one, but I feel like we've been in this situation with the Cardinals and Seahawks at times this year, and games where we're expected to kind of explode from a points perspective haven't. So I'm going to go under. And it's a tight one, a divisional one. Yeah, I'm just giving the under on this one. I still think it'll be a good game and fun. And it's a big number as well. I think there's a lot of big numbers this week. So, I'm going to take on that 47.5 in Cardinals Seahawks, and I think it'll be an under.
This was my top under.
Oh, was it? Oh, nice.
I couldn't decide whether to go favourite or under at the turn there. I knew I was going to get my underdog last.
Yeah.
And I'm now thinking I'm regretting not going with my under because, I agree. I think both these defenses, especially the last few weeks, have been playing better than they did early in the season, maybe better than their talent level looks like. Mike McDonald's been pretty brutal in making cuts and swapping out linebackers who were starters and just like, you're not going to fit here, bye, which I absolutely love in a coach. If you're not buying in immediately, get out, So Ernest Jones, who came up from the Titans a few weeks ago, seems to have been a difference maker again immediately. On his third team of the year. I know he didn't play for the Rams in this season, but he was traded right at the start of the season. Yeah, I think it's going to be a real good matchup, but maybe not a super explosive matchup. I think it's going to be a real fun one to watch. A lot of running, I think, will be, the order of the day between James Conner and Kenneth Walker, two of the best running backs this season.
Yeah, it's one of the 3 games in the late slate. How many weeks in a row is this where we've only had 3 games in the late slate? And it's like a third
3 or 4, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, third or fourth one in a row. NFL, it sucks. Do something about it. Obviously, that statement will make the NFL change, I'm sure. Joe, over to you.
Yeah, I'll do my over. Not that one. Go. I'm gonna go the Patriots at Dolphins over 46. I just think because it is in Miami, it's warm weather. Miami's a weird defense because they impressed me quite a lot against the Rams, but against the Raiders, they didn't really stop the Raiders, which I was surprised. It was a lot of there wasn't many possessions, but he still hit the over last week. And I think this Patriots Drake May has looked exciting, and I think they could get some points down in Miami. So at 46, it's not too high of a number, I don't believe. So I've got the Patriots at Dolphins over 46. Yeah.
Nice. A big fan of Drake. What Drake May's doing. Pushed the Rams close last week. This could be a close one this week as well. Now, this is definitely one of the ones that Miami has to have if they're going to make it run. Talked about it with Andy and preview it earlier, so won't go into any more details because you've already heard me particularly talk about the game. Joe, what's your next one?
Yeah, I'm going to go my favorite. I think it's tricky favorites this week. There's some decent wide spreads or really close games. I'm just going to go ride the train. I'm going the Broncos -5.5 at Raiders. I just think the Raiders are not a great team. I know they had a decent week last week against Dolphins, but they still lost by a margin. I'll not be surprised if Minshew isn't benched in this game just because how good that Broncos defense has been. And Bo Nix is, we mentioned the other day, he's put the second best quarterback to come out of the draft, and we'll see what Jane Daniels does over the last few weeks. But, Bo Nix has put his hat in the ring for Offensive Rookie of the Year. So let's go Broncos -5.5 at Las Vegas.
Does it worry you that in Las Vegas / Oakland, Broncos have lost 8 in a row?
No, because this is a whole different Broncos. The Broncos have hardly been to the playoffs the last few years. They had the good years with Peyton Manning, but before that and after that, it's been absolute dross. So I think this is a new time. You can't live in the past. You can't live in stats and figures. You just got to beat this Raiders team who are ranked 32 in our power ranking. So there's a reason why they're ranked 32. So let's go Broncos, who shot up the rankings this week.
Yeah, they lost their last 8. So, obviously, Raiders, I should say. Let's go positive. Raiders have won the last 8 meetings in Las Vegas / Oakland, and they've gone 8-0 against the spread as well. So, they've killed the Broncos at home. But, yes, maybe this is the year that changes. Cool. So, you've gone favourite. So, what do I need to go for? Probably over. It doesn't matter. Can I just go for whatever? It doesn't matter, does it? You've both got, you've both covered. Yeah. All right, that's fine. So, I will go with my over, and I'm taking that game, Joe. Broncos, Raiders, over 41. I think it's low number. Broncos offensively, obviously, have been real good. Bo Nix is great, as you just talked about. What did the Raiders put up last week? 17 or 14? 17 against the Dolphins?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Might be more. Obviously, Brock Bowers is immense. Doesn't seem to matter whether it's AOC, Gardner Minshew. He, was getting the ball 10 times a game. I think the Raiders can put up enough points to carry their end of it. And I agree with you, to be fair. I was just saying those stats to be mean because I thought when he was a pick the Broncos.
I was just about to say you're not worried about that, but the Raiders have gone 8-0 against the Broncos. So if they are going to win this game, it might be a low-scoring game.
If they do win, it probably would be a low-scoring game, yeah. But I'm kind of with you. I was just saying the stats because that's where the stats, Joe. Look, I thought sometimes you just got to say what the stats are. But yeah, I like the over in this one. 41. I think it's quite a low number. And yeah, Broncos have been getting steadily better and better, haven't they? So yeah, I think the Broncos will put up enough points, and then the Raiders will carry their end with, even if they get to 10, that might be enough on this one. Byron, you need a underdog and an under.
Yeah, so my under, I'm going to take Commanders Cowboys under 45. We've had the Kingsbury dip. I don't think the Cowboys defense played that bad against Houston on Monday. Their issue is the offense, obviously.
Better, yeah. They did play a lot better.
Yeah, I think between the Kingsbury and the Jaden Daniels dip, truthfully, I don't think he's had over 20 fantasy points since week 3. I think Washington will win the game. And I did take the Commanders -10, but I'm really not confident on that one. I think the Cowboys could keep it close. And I kind of think it's going to be a bit of a trudge of a game. It might end up being 24-13.
Big revenge game as well. Dan Quinn's going to be in his...
A lot of revenge games, yeah.
A lot of
the Washington defense is...
Yeah, a lot of revenge in, let's keep this score low. Good defense.
I think that's how it's going to be. I think it is going to be a lot of defense playing well. Jaden Daniels, like I say, I don't know if it's a rib injury, whether it's Kingsbury, whether it's combination, whether it's just rookie, a little burnout maybe after such a bright start. But I think it's relatively clear that Washington offense isn't firing on all cylinders as it was in the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. So yeah, I'm just going the under here, and I'm kind of regretting taking the Commanders +10, -10 on our ATS thing. Now, my underdog of the week, I actually have 4 underdogs to pick from, which is very rare for me. But I'm going to stick with a game we've already talked about. I'm going to take the Chargers +3 at home against the Ravens. Again, I just kind of think 1-53. I think I say that a lot. I think 1-53, though, the Chargers are a better team than the Ravens. The rushing attack obviously favors the Ravens, but I think pretty much every other facet of the game favors the Chargers, and coaching might favor Jim, not John, presently. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Chargers +3. I'm as all in as I think I can be on the Chargers after having 6 weeks off from not hyping them over the summer, it felt like. I'm finally back in on the Charbors. So, yeah, going to take +3.
Chargers +3. I've got 3 of my 4 favourites left after you took the Bucks, Byron. So I've got such choice. But I'm just going to go with the Lions. The Road Warriors, we just mentioned how good they are, 21-9 in the last 30 on the road. -7.5. I think they'll be too good, and they'll beat the Colts comfortably. -7.5 on the Lions. I like the others. I was going flipping between Lions and Eagles, but I'll go with the Lions. And Joe, you need an under?
Yeah. Unders are tricky this week.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just doing your caption, Paul, so give me 2 seconds. Oh. Cool.
Great podcast.
Cheers, Paul. Choosing a game which we've talked about when I was just saying stuff out. Under.
You knew the pick. You had the under. You've had 2 picks to make. You know what you're going to pick.
I really like that Cowboys Commanders, which is slightly annoying. I'm going to go. Oh, this is a risk. Let's do it because I'm way behind. I'm going to go Vikings Bears under 39.5.
Yeah, I like that one as well.
It's in Chicago. It's horrible weather. I think the Vikings are going to suffocate Caleb Williams. I don't think he's going to do much. I think Sam Darnold against a Bears defense, which looked like it improved, and he kept that Packers team down. I was hoping there was a few more points above, but 39.5. You know what? I know what's going to happen because I put on the over for Bears last week at 40 and it hit 39. I bet it hits 40 this week and screws it by 0.5. But let's go Vikings at Bears under 39.5.
Kick a last-second field goal down 4 to make it a 1-point loss.
Exactly.
Have you been giving Joe some weather tips or something for Chicago?
No, but I was about to. Well, I mean, I did say it was due to start snowing today, and it has been snowing today. We've had quite a bit of snow. Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be any nicer by Sunday. So yeah, I think that's a good shout. I mean, Minnesotans will be used to it, but that doesn't make it any easier to play football in.
And they're normally inside as well. The players.
Inside,
Yeah.
Cool, excellent. So that wraps up our fourfold challenge. We're trying to get another win. Still looking for a first guest win as well. Byron's comes in at 12-1. His Bucks as 6-point favourite. His Titans, Texans over 41. Commanders, Cowboys under 45. And the Los Angeles Chargers as 3-point underdogs. Again, mine will be similar to 12-1 while Joe's just had tighten it up. I'm on the Bears plus 3.5. I'm regretting that pick already. Bears plus 3.5 as 3.5 point underdogs. Cardinals, Seahawks under 47.5. Broncos, Raiders over 41. And the Lions are 7.5 point favourites. Mine's plus 12.30. Joe's fourfold. His San Francisco 49ers at 2.5 point underdogs. Patriots Dolphins over 46. The Denver Broncos is 5.5 point favourites against the Raiders and under 39.5 in Vikings Bears, coming out at plus 12.28. So just a shade over 12-1. Best of luck. Hopefully all four come in this week, our three and a guest. That would be nice, wouldn't it? On to our ATS picks. Touch on a couple of the other games we've not talked about. Thursday Night Football, which is just about to kick off. Me and Joe are on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Byron's taking the Browns this is a game that Tomlin should win and he won't situation. Me and Byron have gone against our Cowboys, Commanders, with the obviously covering the 10 points. Joe, you'd love picking the Cowboys in these on the ATS this year.
Yeah, no, I feel like I got with the Cowboys each time. It's I think this might be my last week when I have trust in them. So
I love that you're riding with the Cowboys though. Yeah.
Well, I know what the early line is for Thanksgiving.
What?
Oh, I forget whose line is it anyway. I will say Cowboys minus 1.5.
I was going to say 3.5 minus as well.
Joe?
I'll go between -2.
Let's have a look. See, is it up yet? Cowboys minus 2.5.
Ooh.
Finally favourite for the first time since 2023. Not quite, but yeah, that's going to be ugly AF. Anyway, sorry.
Yep. Chiefs rolling the Chiefs, which means that they're definitely not going to cover this 11. I don't know why I do it with the Chiefs every time. I know they're not going to cover this big number.
And Panthers on a 2-game winning streak as well. Not even just against the spread.
Off a bye.
Yeah. It just felt after a loss, it feels like they're going to try and stomp a team, and they're playing the Panthers who have improved the last few weeks, but still, I feel like it's going to be an ugly Bryce Young game.
Oh, poor Bryce. Are the Chiefs are we going to see Pacheco, do we think?
It sounds like him, yeah, and Owenu on defense as well. So I think it's going to, yeah.
A couple of ways to get back. Cool. I'm on the Bears. You two the Vikings. We're all on the Dolphins. All on the Bucks. All on the Texans as well. All on the Broncos. This is going to be a terrible week for us when we're all on this. So many games. Cardinals, we mentioned the Cardinals were 1 point underdogs. They're now 1 point favourites, but I still like them. Byron, you've again riding with the Seattle Seahawks.
Let's go.
And then the last three of the TV games, me and Joe on the Niners. What?
I'm very much, me and Paul's gone all the way there on the 3 games.
Oh, are you boys? Breaking news.
Yeah, me and Joe on the Niners. Byron on the Packers. Me and Joe on the Eagles. Byron on the Rams. And me and Joe on the Ravens. And Byron on the Chargers. Could be a big week for you, this, Byron, to catch Joe up.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, so the only games where I've got the Cowboys on my own. Paul, you've got Bears on your own, and the rest we've got the same.
Yeah, that's no good for me trying to catch you up, is it? Joe comfortably leading the way here. He's what you 8 ahead of Byron, and I'm way off in the distance, 20 games behind Joe. So yeah, it'll a long way to find me, Byron. I'd had a good few weeks on the ATS, and then it's just kind of I just keep getting around 500 again now. So hopefully we have a good week this week. Last bit of business for this week's episode and preview is Fantasy Gameday Picks. So a reminder, Fantasy Game Day, the UK's best and fastest growing NFL daily fantasy game by UK fans for UK fans, offering a variety of different games now. So they're expanded over the last few weeks. A new classic game, so without the captain element, without the double points, which has been asked for by Fantasy Game Day users, a more traditional DFS route. So that's available now. So yeah, download the latest version of the app and you'll be able to get the classic game. We're focusing on the Sunday Stars game, as usual, the OG, £7.50 entry one, but there's a variety of different entry prices. Make sure you sign up using promo code COVER if you've not played yet. You'll get yourself a free entry after your first play. A little Brucey bonus on us to welcome you to the Fantasy Game Day platform. And use it. The guys are improving it all the time. It's awesome. You must be 18 years or over to play, and you must be in the UK. And of course, as always, please gamble responsibly. We'll start with our picks then. Joe, we'll start with you. You've taken my selection from last week for quarterback. Tell us about Jared Goff.
Yeah, I was shocked that his price was still the same. I was a bit like, have they forgot to update Jared Goff? Because he's playing indoor again in Indianapolis, who have definitely got better on defense with a few guys coming back from injury, but I still think they can got out in the air. So I think it's going to be another big Goff game where, he can even throw. It felt like they wanted to embarrass the Jags last week. They wanted to put the points up. I think they're going to be trying to do something similar, and I think they're going to keep throwing it whenever they can. So a 5-600, I think, is a good shout compared to some of the other QBs who are more expensive. Who's around?
Excellent. Byron, your quarterback shout. It's the first time we've had this gentleman on this view this year.
It is, yeah. Patrick Mahomes, priced at QB6 on the slate. Before Nuke Hopkins arrived, Patrick Mahomes was scoring at quarterback 20 rate point per game. Since Hopkins arrived, he's scoring 19.5 points a game, which is quarterback 6. And he is priced at QB6 just on this slate alone. So, I think Mahomes is getting more into throwing it territory. Kareem Hunt, I think, is easing off after a very, very good start, surprising to me at least, on his second go-around with Kansas City. But whether it's Hunt or Pacheco getting back into things, I think they're going to be throwing the ball plenty in this game. The Panthers give up 21.75 points per game to quarterbacks, which is the 6th worst in the NFL. The only defense worse on the schedule, though, is playing versus Tommy Cutlets, who, no, I do not fancy to do much this week. So, yeah, the Bucs give up more points per game than the Panthers. They're the only team on the slate who does, but I think Patrick Mahomes is a little better than, I think it's Danny DeVito, Tommy DeVito, and Danny DeVito, in fact. So, yeah, I'm fine with paying up for Mahomes at QB6 price when he's been QB6 in his last 5 games anyway. And, yeah, the Panthers give up plenty of points to do so.
Yeah. Great quarterback sneaker, that Danny DeVito.
I'm going to take my quarterback shout of the week is Kyler Murray. I think he's been playing fantastically. It's not necessarily always translated to fantasy points. So far, he's had some dud weeks. But yeah, I really think he's got a good matchup here against the Seattle Seahawks. It's a big number. I've obviously taken the under on the fourfold there, but it is a big number. So I think there's enough room for points. And I think there's enough room as well for Kyler to scamper around a potential run in, a touchdown or two. I think he ran into against the Jets a couple of weeks ago, didn't he? They're off a bye. Yeah, I like Kyler here in this spot against the Seahawks. My wide receiver I've gone for is Cortland Sutton at 5,600. I think just obviously we just talked about a little bit about the game there because it cropped up in our fourfold. But yeah, I like what the Broncos have been doing. Bo Nix has been obviously just steadily improving week on week, and he just seems to be getting targeted more. So that's 4 games in a row. Sutton's had 8 or more targets and 6 or more catches. And he's got over 70 yards receiving in all those games. So he's not seen the touchdown production yet, but I think that's coming. I think he's only 3 touchdowns on the season. But I think this could be another, very close to 8 or 9 grabs, 100 yards, and potentially touchdown. So I think at 5-6, given kind of the price of some of the other wide receivers, I think it's a pretty good value pick. Byron?
So my wide receiver pick is Calvin Ridley at £6,000. And again, we're touching on since Nuke left again. But since DeAndre Hopkins left, Calvin Ridley has scored 70.1 PPR points, which is good for 17.525 points per game. That would... Oh, it's 5,200. Thanks, Joe.
5,200, yeah.
I'm looking at our sheet, not... Yeah, 5,200. Better than that expensive Cortland Sutton guy. 17.525 points would be wide receiver 8 on the season ahead of CD Lamb. The last time he played against Houston, he got 21.9 fantasy points PPR. That was for Jacksonville. And if you include his 51-yard touchdown, which was incredibly harshly overturned last week against the Vikings for, I think it was an eligible man down. I think it was a legal formation. He would currently be on, in his non-Nuke Hopkins games, 82.2 points, 20.5 points per game, which would be wide receiver 2 points per game if it was an entire season's worth. Ridley feels like a real enigma, but when he's a true wide receiver 1, he puts up yards and he puts up points. Doesn't always look good doing it. He drops easy catches and makes unbelievable ones. But Texans, I think, are 9th worst against wide receivers in the NFL in fantasy points. So I think Ridley, as number 1 target, will put up points again this week.
Excellent. And Joe, you've got a return from injury as your wide receiver.
Yeah, I've got Mike Evans at the Giants at 5,800. I just think his return, they're going to target him quite a lot. Obviously, with Goodwin out, they've got Otton, but I think, he's hit 1,000 yards in the last 10 years. He's at 335 with 7 games to go. They're going to chuck him the ball. They want to keep that record going, so I can see him having a huge game. And against this Giants defense, who are probably stronger up front, so I think they're going to still have a good running game because I think the Bucs have got a good 1-2 punch. I think they're going to try and target Evans quite a lot, so I expect a 100-plus receiving yard game from him because, he needs to get up to that 1,000 march, and he's only got 7 games to go.
It's 95 yards a game. Do you think he can do it? None of us want to see this streak end.
No, and I mean, I like to pick this week. And he needs 95 yards per game. He could double it this week alone, I think. Baker Mayfield's going to do all he can to make sure he gets there as well.
Excellent. Good stuff. And then, Joe, give us your shout. You've gone for a tight end.
Yeah, I struggled with running backs this week. I don't think there was that many cheap options, which were good shouts. So I went for a tight end. I went for Hunter Henry. I think the last few games, he's getting at least 6 or 7 targets every game. Like I said, I've got this game to go over as well. He seems to be a favourite of Drake May. And he's always there. So I think he normally gets, 8-9 targets, 50-odd yards. And at that price of 2,800, he could have a big game against the Dolphins, i.e. doing a Jonas Smith versus Miami. So I see Hunter having a big game this weekend and, gain some points.
Nice. Byron, you've gone with the Buccaneer?
Yeah. I've gone Buccaneering Irvin. Bucky Irvin. His name's Bucky. Anyway, Bucky Irvin. Rashad White has got more fantasy points on season, but in wins, Bucky Irvin has got 10.7 points per game to Rashad White's 10.1 points per game. And I mean, that's in a scoring format that massively favours Rashad White's catching, whereas Rashad White, I don't think anyone would try and trick you that he's a special running back. He's pretty inefficient, but he's a very good pass catcher. But I think in a game against the Giants where we all are favouring the Bucs, apart from Andy, and I think this, like I said earlier, could be a stomp down on a very demoralised Giants team. Bucky Evans had more rush attempts than White in the last 3 games. And the Giants have only stopped 2 RB1s getting 12 or more points, which feels like a pretty low bar for entry at 3,800 for Bucky Irvin. Those 2 running backs were Jerome Ford on 10 attempts and Rico Dowdle on 11 attempts. Every other running back one they've played has scored 12 or more fantasy points. So I think Bucky Irvin will get there pretty comfortably, and it could be a real go-off game as well if the Giants are as in the shit as I think they are. So I think at 3,800 is a nice little enabler.
Yeah, good shout. It's always good to have one of those in your Fantasy Gameday lineup to allow you to spend elsewhere. I've gone for Brian Robinson, 6,000, but I think he must be 7th or 8th even. It might even be lower than that. Priced 3, 4, 9th priced running back. Very simple. I know the Cowboys were a little bit better on Monday, but Joe Mixon still had a big game. Cowboys give 151 yards on the ground per game. They're 31st in the NFL. Commanders, 6th best in terms of yard per game rushing. And the Commanders are just going to force their will and run all over the Cowboys, just like every other team has done so far this year. Nothing's changing. So I expected a big game out of Brian Robinson. Obviously, he missed some time with injury, but he played last Thursday against the Eagles. He was good for a touchdown. So I'd expect a bigger workload for Brian Robinson and, 100 yards and at least one touchdown. So I think you're going to get a big game out of Brian Robinson Jr. this week. Excellent. Those are our Fantasy Game Day tips for Sunday Stars. Go download it. Use the promo code COVER. Get yourself a free bonus play on us. That's a wrap for the Good Teams and Great Teams cover. Week 12 NFL preview. Thanks for joining us. As always, give us a follow. Good Teams and Great Teams cover over on Spotify. You'll be notified of new episodes when they drop. Hit us on YouTube, Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky at GTW_GTC, and you'll get to see all our bet picks as they're posted over the weekend. Keep a track of what's going on. Join us. That's it. Gentlemen, enjoy your week 12. Best of luck, and may all your best cash